Okay. I've irritated myself so much that I actually had to go in the attic and pull down a set of plans from uh, people that watch me enough or know me, the project from a couple years ago. And I did it. I don't even know why I'm doing it. I just want people to understand that just because you get a set of plans stamped and sealed, architects, engineers, and you pay a lot of money and you think you have a product that is build worthy doesn't necessarily mean so. Um, I made a video, I don't know, it's probably a couple of years ago called Crisis of Leadership or something, which addressed another issue on this particular home. But one of the issues that I did not address to anyone, at least to my knowledge, was these little sneaky things. Where's my shit? So I had injured myself. I fell, broke both my heels, and my son was taking over. And this little area right here, this little square, was driving him crazy and driving me crazy because I could not understand for the life of me why it was taking him so long. And when he explained to me why, I still thought it could be done quicker. And then I realized why it was such a cluster. So this is all a concrete slab. Garage, and this mud room, dog room, pantry, blah, blah, blah. All of that's poured. The the I don't even know what to call him. The guy that was in charge, the superintendent, he laid out the plumbing and the ductwork for the rooms before the concrete, before the gravel, before everything was poured. So, you know, he did all this, and then my son comes by after the fact and starts pulling these numbers to frame these walls. And none of the plumbing and none of the ductwork is where it's supposed to be. It's like the, the plumbing stub ups are 3 or 4 inches outside of the wall. The HVAC, I can't remember, might be in the middle of the hallway or underneath the wall. But he fought with this thing, my son did, for the better part of 3 weeks. And he tried to make it right. He tried to all these other numbers are another clusterfuck, which led to the clusterfuck over here. But anyway, he fought with it and fought with it. I was like, God, son, what is going on? It's a little teeny box. And I didn't completely understand until I actually came back after the fact and went through these numbers. And I guess this is what I'm trying to illustrate to whoever gives a shit. So you have this wall right here, and you have a dimension 3'9" from wall to wall. And then you have another dimension 6'3". But the thing you don't, if you're not paying attention, you don't realize is these two little hash marks with no dimension at all. So the other guy, he pulled 3'9" and 6'3", put a stub up of plumbing right there, and missed it completely. Not because I need to choose my words. Well, he was an idiot, but because he overlooked that little hash mark, which has no dimension. Because as carpenters and framers or whatever, we're looking for numbers. We're not trying to redesign or check behind everybody. They get their money. They've been to college. We should look at the plans and follow the plans. But there's no dimension there. All right, so he went 3'6", then he went, or not, 3'9", 6'3". Then he came over here and he went 14 foot. Missed this wall completely. Missed that plumbing. Then he went, I think it was, I can't remember, east to west. Completely missed this wall. And the reason he missed it is here again are these secret little fuck-ups. 19 foot 1/4 hash mark, wall to wall. You can figure 3.5 or 4.5 finished wall for sheetrock. And then you have 5'6" 1/4 wall to wall. But here's this little thing. There's no dimension. Nobody accounted for that, which further threw him off another 3.5 or 4 inches. So his wall was back here because he didn't account for that because there's no dimension for it. So, all right, so as embarrassed I am that I'm going back to a project from several years ago to illustrate these little tick marks, these little things that can just screw everybody up, carpenters, homeowners, whoever, because they get the big money and they don't put a number down. They don't illustrate, and then when you call them out on it, they say, well, you can't use a scale because this is not the original drawing. So here I am on my project. Little shoebox. It's not little. It's bigger. It's almost twice the size of the original house, but it's just a box. I didn't go behind anybody and check them. This is the first time in my life I think I've actually been, a consumer, because I am in the industry. I'm always stuck with finding issues and dealing. I was just like, well, I'm paying the money, so somebody else can deal with it. We had a problem. We've had several problems. We had a problem in the basement. Something wasn't lined up right. The plumbers from this job came to this job, and something was 2 inches out of whack or so. My son had the same issue. The plumbers had the issue. I called the architect and, supposedly resolved it. Well, then we went up to the second floor, and I was like, I got to figure this shit out, because if there's a problem, if you start off wrong, you're going to end up wrong. So if there's a problem on the first floor, it's going to go all the way to the top if you don't catch it. So I went up and I started adding this shit up. And I called the guy. I was like, man, something's not right. Something's missing. And I was using my scale ruler. And he's like, well, you can't do that. You can't use a scale. And I was like, why not? It works north to south. It doesn't work east to west. Something doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's okay. For all intents and purposes, talked his way out of it. But I'm sorry, I'm on a rant. If you take this dimension at 19'3", 5'3", add them together, you get 24'6". That's the dimension, and that's what the architect told me to do. He said, don't worry about Don't worry about all this money you spent for these numbers because they don't matter. All you really need is the outside dimension. All right, 24 foot 6. All right, so then you come, let's say I got the floor down, nailed off, shot, ready to rock and roll, pop some lines, make something happen. I want to start popping lines. I go 4 foot 6. 4 foot 6. 6 foot 8. 6 foot 8. 4 foot 6 again. 4 foot 6. 5 foot for the bathroom. All right, 5 foot. Now, you got to remind yourself not to be an idiot all the time. So this is an exterior wall. So you got to add that in, 6 inches. That's an exterior wall, 6 inches. 6 inches, 6 inches. Then you got to add your interior walls. 3.5, we're going to call it 4.5 with the finished sheetrock. 4.5, 4.5. 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. You add all that up, it's supposed to be that number. But you add it up, and you get 22 foot 9.5. That's a pretty big discrepancy. And just like this little teeny tiny discrepancy here, and this little teeny tiny discrepancy here, this great big glaring discrepancy here is the cabinets. These numbers do not reflect the cabinet dimension, because I bet, even though he says not to, let's see. Quarter-inch scale. That's 1/8 inch quarter. Fuck. Basically 2 foot. Which makes me more pissed off, because if I add the cabinet dimension 2 foot to 22 foot 9, I still don't get the right number. I get 24 foot 9. So I'm still 3 inches off. God, it's fucking infuriating. Again, I said, I'm ranting and raving and making stupid videos, but this is not my job. This is not what, I paid to have this done. This person paid to have this done. They got screwed, and even though I'm in the industry, I'm in the business, I'm having to do the same shit all over again. I'm not an architect or an engineer, but I gotta go back behind these motherfuckers and figure everything out on my own. Then argue my case and justify it, then correct it. It's just not how it's supposed to be. I would just love to, I'd love to have a set of plans that kind of landed within a 1 inch landmark. But I'm continually perplexed by 2 and 3 inches, just like I was over here. It's the same thing I just did. You can add all that shit up, and it doesn't add up to that steel beam there or this steel beam there. But you actually got to sit down and do the job that you aren't educated to do, licensed to do, and prove somebody else wrong. I'm fucking sick of it. I just want to be a framer, a carpenter. do my job. Not go back behind every single sub in the entire industry and check to make sure they're doing their job. Because that would make me, quote unquote, a builder. I don't want to be a builder because I don't want that headache, but I'm doing it anyway. What do you think, Piggy? You would probably like to meet Miss Pebbles. What do you think, Trixie? Anyway, that's my rant for the day. I'll try and come up with something a little more uplifting for Christmas, but God, this shit is driving me up the wall. And the fact I just had all my material delivered after I paid 30 grand, thought I was done, and I forgot the floor. You forgot the floor. That's kind of important. Most houses need floors. At any rate, y'all have a good evening. See ya.